Hi guys, welcome to MRM Sports. I'm your host, Ronald M. It's match week 4 in the Champions League, man. The top tier of European competition. If your team is not there, I don't know what to say, but try and do better next time. Those in the European Conference League, try and do better next time, man. Yes, it's match day 4, and we have some key important games today. Chelsea is playing I think this is a season-defining match already for Chelsea. But man, before we jump into Champions League talk, I have to send my heartfelt, I don't want to say condolences, but then it was a sad day when I got the news yesterday on Monday that I saw it trending on Twitter and then also on YouTube, and also it started circulating on WhatsApp groups that Mwepu, the Brighton midfielder from Zambia, he has to end his career because of a hereditary hand condition, man. Such a sad news, because the guy is only 24. He had a whole life ahead of him. And I saw him in a few matches, especially last season. I don't remember which team he scored against, but like you could see he was fitting into the Brighton team. And when Besuma was sold, you thought you would see more of him. At 24, I didn't even know he was Zambian before sometime early this year when I did a video about African players in Europe, man. At 24 from Zambia, we hardly have Premier League players from southern part of Africa. You have your Passon Daka and you have Nakamba from Zimbabwe. We hardly have players from southern part of Africa. So he was doing us proud in this region. And for him to end his career because of and it's not his fault. That's the most painful part. It's not like he chose for the state or he did something to get this hand condition. Man, he was born with it. It's hereditary. So it passes through his genes. This is what we call a generational curse. Because you think about it, you're 24, you're living the dream of any footballing fan or footballer from any parts of the world, let alone from Africa, from a small town in Zambia called Chambishi. I don't know how you pronounce it, man. For him, it's a generational curse, and such a sad thing to see, man. It's good when I saw the tweet he put out. He says, like, this is not he's hanging up his post, but it's not the end of the world for him in the footballing world. It would be interesting to see if will Brighton give him a job there, or maybe with the junior staff, or maybe join the coaching staff or the club setup overall. Oh man, for me as a fan, as a footballing fan, as an African, obviously sad news, but I would love to see him maybe try and create that avenue for more players from the southern parts of Africa to just go and experience the Premier League, so that we can show the world that yes, we are talented also on the side. The first African player to play in the Premier League was Peter Ndlovu from Zimbabwe. So surely there's some talent in this part of the world. I think maybe if I was to talk to him, I would ask him, like sincerely ask him to try and maybe advise players from this part of the world, part of Africa, to say, okay, this is how you can improve your game to get into the Premier League. Because at 24, it's very rare to have players that young from southern part of Africa at 24 in the Premier League, man. But yeah, that was a sad day. I can only imagine what him and his family are going through. Obviously, it's a life-changing opportunity, and the finances as well. Let's be honest, guys. The moment you play in the Premier League, even if it's not for the big six side, but then the finances now that impacts your life and changes your life drastically. For him to at 24 to have this bad news, his whole career was ahead of him. Now these days players play up until they're 34, 35. So he's still in like 10 solid seasons playing at the highest level of football, man. And it's such a pity. But yeah, I will keeping an interest to see what happens next for him. I hope Brighton will give him something to do there within the club, man. That's very sad. Now let's talk Champions League football. Like I said, it's game week 4, man. It's match week 4, and today on the 11th of October, it's the first day of the Champions League, the first round of fixtures. Let me just give you a run through of the fixtures. The early kickoffs, we have Maccabi hosting Juventus. We have FC Copenhagen hosting Manchester City. I think they'll be at 7:45 African time, Southern African time. And then we have PSG hosting Benfica. The last time they played, it was an interesting 1-0 draw. And then also have Dinamo Zagreb hosting Salzburg, man. That's a huge match in the Chelsea group. And then those are part of the later kickoffs as well. We have Dortmund hosting Sevilla. Then also the big one, the one I'll be watching, of course, we have AC Milan hosting Chelsea at the San Siro Stadium. Then, of course, we have the holders, away to Shakhtar Donetsk, Real Madrid that is. And to end of the night, we will have Leipzig versus being hosted by Celtic in Scotland, man. Those are huge games. But then I think it doesn't get better than the AC Milan and Chelsea game. I think for me, that is probably the biggest game of tonight. I mean, all the other big six teams are guaranteed to go through. Even PSG and Benfica. I think it's just a battle of who will finish first and who will finish second. And you think of Madrid, I think they're already through. City, you expect them to be through by the end of the night. So the Chelsea versus the AC Milan versus the Chelsea one, that's a huge match. Because if Salzburg beats Dinamo Zagreb, they still maintain the top position. So Chelsea and whoever wins between Chelsea and AC Milan might be second, guaranteed second, or who loses that game might actually finish third of the group. So that's those two teams don't want to fall down to the Europa League. I can guarantee you that. As a Chelsea fan, I wouldn't want to play Arsenal or Man U in the Europa League because the bound up is just too much. And I think AC Milan is the current holders of the Serie A title. They wouldn't want to fall down there. I think that would be an embarrassment for them as well, man. Thinking of this match, I think with Graham Potter made 7 changes to the team that beat Wolves. For the team that played Wolves, it's 7 changes from the team that beat AC Milan last week Wednesday. And I think he made most of those changes with this game in mind. I think Aubameyang didn't play at all this weekend. Sterling didn't come on. Chilwell didn't play. James did come on at the later stages of game. Thiago Silva didn't play. I mean, that for me, that screams that he has to go all out in this game. And I think we have to be tactically aware of AC Milan because they did have a good game against Juventus. They won 2-0. And they were playing a hybrid of 4-3-3 and 4-2-3. And I did watch a rematch of that game, man. They really had a good game against Juventus. And I think they'll be buzzing. And from the shitty performance they put against Chelsea when we were at home, I think they want to put a statement down, say we can play better than that. We can match Chelsea for the pace, for the technique, for the energy. And of course, the former Chelsea players in Giroud and Tomori who have a point to prove, to show that Milan is their home. It was a mistake for Chelsea to let go of them. The only injured doubts for Chelsea, I think we have the long-term absence of Kante. I think he might be back in training now. Hakim Ziyech is also absent. And of course, the long-term injury sustained. I think it's a 4-week He's going to be out for 4 weeks, which is for Fana, man. But we'd expect Chalobah to slot in there. And I think this would be a huge game for Chalobah. I'm happy because now we're bringing in a player with experience. I mean, Chalobah played pretty much the whole of last season. And he knows Champions League football now. So I think for us, that's a plus. Because it's not like we're bringing a kid from Academy who will be thrown into the match. I would expect Potter to go with the 3 at the back. In all honesty, I think for me, just play Thiago Silva, Koulibaly, and Chalobah. And then you have your Chilwell or Cucurella and James as your fullbacks. Then most likely might go with Jorginho and Ruben Loftus-Cheek in the midfield. And going forward, I would want Oba to be our striker. Sterling, of course, has to come in. And I would play Mount. Based on the 2 assists he had in the game against Wolves, I think we need to make sure Mount picks up the form. And, with Mount, you can always drop in to make that midfield as a 3 with Jorginho and Loftus-Cheek when not defending. But I would definitely play Mount. I'm expecting Milan to give us a tough game. I don't think it will be a clean 3-0 like the last time. Milan might try and get it. If Milan gets an early goal, then it becomes a shaky moment for Chelsea. But I do expect us to get at them. I do expect us to try and dominate some certain parts of the field. And of course, we can do what we do best. I mean, we can always hit them on a counter. I think if James and Chilwell play, we know even a creative outlet from the flanks. So we don't have to solely rely on Mount to be the creator. And Loftus-Cheek, he has been on good form as of late. He has been playing pretty well. The way he passes forward with the ball and his dribbling abilities, man, are so underrated. I think last time around, last week, Wednesday, Milan only had like 4 shots on target. So I think we have to try and limit them. And I think the blessing in disguise is with Zlatan injured, of course, for Milan. Giroud is not the most mobile striker. Yes, he can hold up the play, he can bring in his wingers in. I think Thiago Silva can handle that kind of striker. I mean, if it was a Haaland with pace and energy, then we would have a problem. So I would expect Thiago Silva to be able to deal with Giroud. And James has to pocket Leo again. I think James has to. If James pockets Leo again, then we have a solid base to build on. I think our defense will be very much key. We will be key. And interestingly, We have never lost to AC Milan. I think the last time we lost to them was in like 66 or 30, 1966 or so. In 5 games, we've won 3 and drawn 2. So I think we should be able to keep up the record. A draw away from home wouldn't be the worst result of them all, because on paper, when the draw was made, for me, the Milan game was the most difficult one. I would expect us to go to Salzburg and get a result. And, of course, defeat Dinamo Zagreb when we were home in the last game of our group stages, man. I think it's vital for Chelsea to finish first in the group. Then we can have favorable draws going to the round of 16, man. If I'm a Milan fan, of course, they'll be looking to expose Chelsea. But again, I think this is the biggest game for Graham Potter this season. If he wins this game, then I'm already fully behind him. But then him winning this game, I think, is key for anything Chelsea do this season. Because we need that confidence to go into the next game against Aston Villa and to know that in the Champions League we're in a commanding position. The last thing we want is to make sure that we have to get maximum 6 points against Salzburg and Dinamo Zagreb, man. Those should be luxury matches. Those should be games where he's able to rotate again and try to prioritize us getting to the third or second position in the Premier League, you know. And then moving on to another fixture, which I think I will keep an eye on, of course, is the PSG and the PSG and Benfica game. With Benfica, I think Benfica will like to get a draw. PSG dominated that game. PSG had chances, and it's been reported that PSG won't be with Messi. Normally, if this was still in Barcelona, I'd be a bit worried, but then they have Neymar and Mbappe, so I think they'll be sorted. Although Messi has been on form, I think they said it's a calf injury. I'm not sure how long he's out for, but Messi has been on form. Like this season alone, Messi has been on scintillating form. He's becoming the Messi we know and love. So I think they will miss him. But then PSG have too much talent from the bench, man. So we expect again, PSG have told me, expect for them to actually win this game. But then I think it plays right into the hands of Benfica, because they have nothing to lose really. I think everyone, when the draw was made, they thought PSG would just top the group. So I think Benfica can actually sit back and just try and hit on a counter. Because from last season, we did see that PSG are vulnerable at the back. So maybe they can try and get at PSG. But overall, I'm expecting PSG to win that game, man. And then, of course, your Real Madrid and versus Shakhtar Donetsk, I think we all can call that now. We expect Madrid to win this match comfortably. Your Dortmund versus Sevilla. Last week, I thought this game would be evenly matched. I was shocked when Dortmund just scored 4 goals just like that against the Sevilla team. Because Sevilla have some European pedigree. I mean, when it comes to Europa, they are the kings of Europa. And they do at times perform well in the Champions League up until the round of 16. So if they fall, I think if they lose this game, then they're falling to the Europa League. So if you are Man U, Arsenal, or any team in Europa, if Sevilla falls down to that competition, be very aware. Because you know they might just win the competition after. You know they will win it. You know they'll be favorites if to fall down. Because of the pedigree in that competition, man. And then you have Celtic versus Leipzig. Again, I would expect Leipzig to win this game. I think it's in their hands, really, for them to actually win this game. I'll see nothing less. Celtic at home, although it will be a tough fixture for Leipzig, but I do expect them to get all 3 points in this game. And then City versus FC Copenhagen. Man, Copenhagen are hosting City. I think the interesting part about this game won't be the scoreline, but just how heavy Pep will rotate, because he has Liverpool in the weekend. In as much as Pep likes Klopp, I think in his mind might be thinking this is the best time to nail Liverpool, to put them down and make sure that by the end of the game, of the weekend fixtures, they are 17 points behind whoever the leader will be. If it's Arsenal, they should be 17 points behind Arsenal. I think Pep will go with that mindset even in this game. I'll be surprised if Pep gives a lot of youngsters opportunities to play in this game, or even Haaland doesn't start. It wouldn't shock me that much if Haaland gets maybe 30 minutes or even doesn't come on if City, or even if, let's say, he scores like a hat-trick in the first half, then we don't see him second half. I wouldn't be surprised if KTP doesn't play, if Foden doesn't play. I think he might give Jack Grealish a chance. He might give maybe Gundogan a chance to play, and maybe Mahrez might come in again. I would be surprised if Pep names his strongest 11 to play this game, man. I think it might rest them for Liverpool, because as much as Liverpool are in a tough patch, Klopp would want to make sure that it doesn't get embarrassed again against City. So you tell his players to give it their all, and Pep Imagine if Pep loses against Liverpool. I know it's a Champions League review, but then if Pep loses against this Liverpool side, I think that would be a shocker. And Arsenal, it will give Arsenal hope to create that 4-point gap against City. So Pep will just want to reserve his players, man. I think that would be saving grace for FC Copenhagen. For them, they might play a second string City, although it will be still a brilliant, good team. For them, they might lose this game 2-1 or 3-1 or so, man. But I think that would be an easy win for City. And then, of course, you have Dinamo Zagreb versus Salzburg in the Chelsea group. A part of me wants Dinamo Zagreb to actually get a point. I don't want Salzburg to open that much point gap between us. Of course, we're a point behind them. And imagine if we draw against AC Milan and then they win the match. It would be, what, 3 or 4 points behind them. I think it would be 3 or 4 points behind them. So that would be, I think, yes, it's a gap we can close with a victory or 2 victories against Salzburg, because they still have to play AC Milan. But I just wouldn't want them to have that much leap on us, because I don't want Chelsea to finish second, as I've already said. And then, of course, you have Maccabi versus Juventus. I mean, Juventus are going through a tough time, which I never thought they would experience with Allegri back in the club, man. But then they just don't seem to click. As much as Di Maria is there and he's been the spark for them. But then I think that that defeat against AC Milan was damaging for them in the chance for the Scudetto. I think now all they have to try and fight for is to finish second in the Champions League, of which I think that spot currently belongs to Benfica. If Benfica manages to get a draw against PSG, I think then Juventus have a huge problem, because now they have to defeat PSG and Benfica for the second spot. I would be surprised if Juventus ends up falling for the Europa League. I mean, if some of these big teams do fall to the Europa League, then after January, Europa League will be interesting, man. In February, I mean, Europa League will be interesting. Imagine we have your Man United, your Arsenal, potentially your Spurs, your AC Milan, potentially your Juventus, potentially your Inter Milan, or even your Barcelona. I think that would be an interesting Europa League. It would be like prime Champions League in 07, 08, 09 season, because all those teams were, except for Spurs, of course, all those teams were prime European Champions League teams, man. So it will be quite interesting to see what Juventus does and if they manage to fall or not. But overall, I mean, yeah, those are the games we expect to watch tonight. I'll do a video reacting to the scorelines and see which teams get a shocker. I mean, imagine if Chelsea is shocked, if PSG are shocked by Benfica, if City of all teams are shocked by FC Copenhagen, or even if Madrid are shocked by Shakhtar Donetsk. Anything can happen in football, but then that's most highly unlikely, man. Let me just give you my prediction of these games. The Maccabi and Juventus early kickoff. I think Juventus will win this game 2-1. If it's not a draw, but I think Juventus will go for a 2-1. FC Copenhagen versus City. With me expecting City to heavily rotate, I'll give this game maybe City a 3-1 win. PSG versus Benfica. PSG at home. Let me go with a 2-1 win for PSG. Dinamo Zagreb versus Salzburg. Dinamo Zagreb at home. Let me go for a 1-0 draw. Yeah, I'll go for a 1-0 draw in this match. If it's not a 0-0 draw, I'll go for a 1-0 draw. And then, of course, you have Borussia Dortmund hosting Sevilla. I think I'll go with a 2-0 draw. No, let me go with the 2-1 draw. I think Sevilla will get a goal, but then Dortmund will just prove too strong for Sevilla. And then the big one, AC Milan versus Chelsea. Let me go with a 2-1 away win to Chelsea. I think I have to be loyal of my team now and just say Chelsea might surprise us and might do the job in Milan. They will do the Italian job. And then Shakhtar Donetsk hosting Real Madrid. Let me go with the 2-1 Madrid win again. And then Salzburg versus hosting Leipzig. Celtic, hosting Leipzig. Leipzig. Always Leipzig. Let me say Leipzig. Leipzig. Celtic hosting Leipzig. Let me go with a 2-1 Celtic win. I think a home win in this game. I think Celtic, the fans will be the 12th men, which is key for them, and they will go for the win. Yeah, so if you're betting, man, do listen to my predictions, and if you win some money, don't forget to send me some, man. Guys, Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and like, man. It's good to be putting out footballing content. I'll continue to put out more. As I said already, I'll give you a review of the games and also a preview for the games for match day 2 of game week 4 in the Champions League, man. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as I've already said. This has been fun. It's been a nice journey. As you can see, I'm learning along the way. Man, this has been fun. I'm your host, Ronald Dims.